Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, welcome back. Episode 16. How are you, man?
I'm having a great week, man. Training's been good, feeling good overall, energy levels up. Honestly, things can be better, and I'm finally beating you in the lights side of the house. I feel like my lights are better than yours now. Just throwing that out there.
Straight away, Google's more lights, need more lights. How is your cut going?
Good. Listen, I'll tell you, whenever you deal with a bulking phase, this is the first time I've ever done a bulking phase, right? You look at the progress here, and I'd love to get into the details of this, but, I first started training with you, the whole purpose was kind of cutting up, right? Because I was overweight, I kind of had that mushy body look, and I wasn't severely overweight, right? I think it was at 220. And we dropped down to, I think, like 200 or 195 or something was my lowest weight there. And, that process was interesting because, we were still building muscle at the same time, but slowly. And, once we got to a point where I was lean, we started pushing calories more. And then we went into this training program, which was a 10-week program with Jeff Nippard. And, the calorie requirements for something like that, especially as you're lifting super, super, super heavy, in your 85 to 90%, one rep max type of percentiles, it's taxing on your body. I'll tell you, I've never ached as much in my entire life as I have then. But the thing that was really difficult for me was pushing that weight, right? Because, we push calories and I started increasing weight, and obviously, in our minds, in our culture, everything about us is if you gain weight, it's bad because we don't want to weigh 315 pounds again. And I started noticing some body comp differences. First and foremost, I started noticing my strength getting insanely, ridiculously crazy, right? My strength shot up super fast. My ability to lift and pull weight shot up extremely fast. But I also started adding some body fat as kind of a byproduct of this. And if you look at, kind of the week after week after week after week, of how things started to move, you can start to see my abs shrink a little bit, right? And you can start to see my abs shrink a little bit less. And then I had a little bit less abs. And then I was like, okay, I kind of have like 2.5 abs, that you can see. And that was really the hardest thing, I think, for me to overcome was, I started freaking out because, I started seeing, my body comp, taking a hit. And we never let it get out of control. It was never to the point to where, it was really bad or anything like that. I maybe added, 3 or 4%, body fat maybe or something like that. And so we just started the cutting phase, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. And I can already see my abs. I'm already lean again. I'm dropping 2 pounds on average a week. It's working exactly as anticipated. But I will tell you that first week that we started doing the cutting phase, I felt like complete shit. I felt like I was Fat Dave again. That I'd gain all this weight and I wasn't going to lose it. Even if we cut my calories, I wasn't going to lose it again. Like all of these things start to go through your head again, knowing that's bullshit. I mean, it's total. You're psyching yourself out. It's total bullshit. But it was so hard for me that 1 week, especially because we'd come out of a deload week and then we went into this cutting phase. And, I had a lot of energy. I was putting in the work. I'll tell you the new program that I'm on, I'm really enjoying this one as well. I'll talk a little about that and progressive overload. But ultimately, it's working as anticipated in 2 frickin' weeks. I'm already feeling 10,000 times better. And I know this is just the beginning of it. And things are absolutely fantastic. My energy levels are super high. I'm feeling buff as hell. The muscles are starting to come through now with all the 10 weeks that we added. I can actually see way more muscles. My arm size increased a whole 1 centimeter in a week. Like it's ridiculous. Like things are great. But the mindset is the hardest effing part with this, man. But trusting yourself is, I think, the biggest thing here, where you revert back to, I'm getting back to Fat Dave. I'm getting back to Fat Dave. You're not getting back to Fat Dave. You're literally doing a controlled, gradual increase to do what you want to do to get to the gains that you want to get.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I know it's difficult, and there's nothing more frustrating in thinking that you're putting all this work in and you're trying to go one direction and you're not sort of seeing it. So you start to question it and you're like, oh shit, am I doing the right thing? Like you start to question everything, like have I fucked it, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's probably will lead us into sort of what we want to talk about today in terms of training for your specific goal and what that looks like and sort of making sure you're going in the right direction with that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my biggest fear in life in this whole program. So I think everybody has different objectives than mine, right? You know, my objectives are when I walk down the street. Exactly. That jacked as fuck is exactly where I want to be at. But I want to be one of those guys where when you walk in, you know, someone's like, damn, that dude fucking lifts. You know, like that dude is fucking huge, right? And I don't want to be like Jay Cutler bodybuilding type of style, but I just want to be big. You know, I want to have big muscles. You know, when I take off my shirt, you know, I'm people are like, damn, that guy's jacked as fuck, right? You know, and that's my goal. That's not everybody's goal though. And you know, I think my biggest fear, and I hear about this all the time. Like I'll listen to all these videos, and you know, I'll see these people that have been working out for 6 years, for 10 years, and they're the same size as they were probably year 1 or year 2 that they started. And you hear about, you know, the folks that are in the gym all the time and they're there 5 days a week, you know, putting in the work, but yet they stay the same size as they were before. And I think that's my biggest fear with all of this is that, you know, I'm not progressing forward, right? And I know I am, and I know the measures that we're taking is getting me there. But my biggest fear in life is like, hey, you know, if I continue to do this, I need to continue to see progress and moving forward and continue to grow and grow bigger, which will get us into, you know, progressive overload and how you kind of structure your workouts. But I think for everybody, you need to kind of figure out what your big challenge is and how you overcome that. You know, I just got someone was asking me yesterday, they're saying, hey, I'm looking at buying this piece of equipment. I'm looking at buying a treadmill so that I can lose weight. I'm like, man, we have to have a talk. Like, let's just talk. Okay. You know, don't go and buy a treadmill. Instead, why don't you get some dumbbells and, you know, on a bench? Just get some resistance training, and that's going to do you much better for the weight loss side of the house and to maintain and keep it longer term than anything else. Now, here's the thing. Like, you can do cardio and starve yourself and lose a shitload of weight, right? But is that going to be sustainable for the rest of your life? The answer to that is probably not. You can't live your life, you know, on 500 calories a day, you know, doing a juice detox, you know, for the rest of your life. It's just not going to work.
What? But the internet told me that that's what I needed to do.
Listen, raspberry ketones will solve everything. You know, it's got to be the raspberry ones, so the strawberry ones don't work, right? You know.
I think, you know, you're talking about this from a perspective of yourself, and I'll touch actually on what you're talking about first about being jacked AF, because I have a story about myself. I remember the first time I went over to, there's a gym in Nottingham called M10, and it's where I went to learn how to train. It's actually where I first was introduced to tempo. So anybody who trains with me and hates the tempo, this is where it originally came from. But I remember walking into this gym, and it's a small facility with loads of equipment in it, like very, very physique driven. And I walked in, and there was maybe 5 or 6 coaches that worked there, and they were big as fuck. Like, they were jacked. And it was almost like that presence that they demanded straight away, because they were just big fucking guys. And it wasn't they weren't doing anything. They were just stood there. They were just big dudes. And I was like, I want to have that presence. That's to me why I want to get big, like why I want to have it. It's not the flex my biceps everywhere. It's just to be stood here and be a big person and people are like, respect. Do you know what I mean? Because it's taken a lot of work to get there. But you're talking about yourself and that fear of putting all the work in and staying the same. And I know that that's a fear of yours, but I know that we're not actually doing that. But I have people on calls every week that are living that. They're like, I've been training for the past 5 years. I've done this, and this. I've tried 50 different things. I've done all of that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm the same. And that to me, like, I would just want to bash my head against the wall. Do you know what I mean? You're putting all the work in, and there would be nothing more frustrating to not get to where you want to be or where you feel like you should be going.
Yeah. And you know, I'll look at some guys and I'll be like, do they lift or not? Like, I can't tell. Like, they have a physical physique, but, you know, I don't really know. I can't tell if they've been lifting or not, right? And I know that maybe sounds horrible, or you're judging me. That's not my intention. I just don't want to be like that. Like, I want my physique. When somebody looks at me, you put the time and effort into your body to look the way that you did. And I will tell you, I've been, we've been going to this for a little over a year and a half, maybe about a year and a half or so. And it is hard as fuck. I mean, it is not easy, right? And it's not, I would say the how hard I go at it is not easy. Not everybody has to do that, right? I mean, you can do this gradually over time. I mean, I'm lifting 6 days a week. I'm doing 3 days of HIIT training, high intensity interval training. I'm doing, 12,000 steps a day. I'm, locked in on my calories and eating the right way. So like everything is hitting on full cylinders. Plus I take like 7,000 supplements, which I'm sure do something. I don't know. Especially the raspberry ketones. But the thing with me is, it is really hard, and it gives me an appreciation. Like I really appreciate the guys that, like Yuri, for example, that is, always posts his pics on the Week of Health. The guy was morbidly obese. Guys, doing jiu-jitsu and, all this other stuff. The guy's incredible looking at his age. I mean, I think he's in his 50s or something like that. Guy looks incredible. And apologize if I bastardize your age. If you're in your 40s, you look fucking amazing for 40s. But he looks incredible, right? And I can appreciate like where he came from being obese to looking like that. Like the level of work that it takes to get to that type of position where you walk and you're like, damn, that fucking guy puts in the work, right? I want to be that guy, right? And that's where, I gotta have a lot of the biggest fears there is, I need to put the work in to get there. And, a lot of people struggle with the progress. I struggled with my progress when I first started training with you. I'm like, I'm not seeing a difference. Whoa. Let's go to Dave Mush, week 1, and let's go to Dave's abs, month 6, and let's take a look at the difference here. I'm like, okay, damn, yeah. And I had the same thing when I started doing the deload stuff. I took a look at myself, from like week 1 or to week 6 or month 6, and looked at me now. And I'm like, man, my shoulders, my biceps, they're my traps, they're looking great. Like I got all of these different, things happening for me where I'm growing exactly the way I need to. My weight's going up, from what I'm lifting. I mean, everything is just hitting on the right side. It's just a matter of continuously putting in the work and repeating it, right? Repeat. There is no secret. It's just consistency and repeating what you're doing. And I think that's the hardest thing that I struggle with going through this is like, I don't want to be that guy a year from now looks exactly the same. I want to be bigger. I want to be bulkier. That guy's putting the time in the work. And, I want to be the biggest guy in the room. That's plain and simple, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think the best way that we can sort of describe that would be, to me, I don't mind putting the work in. Like, I don't mind it being hard. Like, I wouldn't want it to be easy. It just needs to be worth it on the other side. And I think as sort of another point to note on this is there's obviously levels to this whole thing. So, the level that you're at now, a year ago, if you had looked at somebody who looks like you now, you'd have been like, fucking hell, I want to look like that. But now that you look like that, you're like, okay, what's next? And you need to recognize that the people that you're looking at now going, fuck, I want to look like that. There's people who are where you were last year looking at you going, fuck, I want to look like that. So there is levels to the whole thing. And that comes down to just where you're at in your journey. And I think that is an important, I actually tweeted about it and tried to relate it to episodes and seasons. I think people got what I was trying to say, but it's about knowing where you're at and recognizing where other people are. And the same, like, we need to sort of reiterate the fact that you didn't start doing 6 days a week and, Orange Theory and everything else. So
not even close.
As you have progressed and your physique has progressed, the more that you saw the benefits and the progress, the more that you wanted to do, because the more benefits and the more progress you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point to see is like, someone had asked me, I just posted a picture of myself on Twitter recently. And it was,
just point out a second, like, that's a big thing to do.
That's what I was going to say is like, I would never post a picture of my body online, because I'm so self-conscious about Fat Dave. And, I even still look at myself as, I got this imperfection, or whatever. And I need to clean this up, or I need to cut the stomach up a little bit more. And, so I think I always have that, even when I'm, big. And it's hard to, like when you look at somebody and you're like, man, that guy's jacked, right? But then you look at yourself and maybe you're in the same boat as that person, but you still look at your imperfections that you have. Like, hey, I have a scar here that no one notices, or, you know, like the simple stuff that you go through your mind on certain things. But, you know, I'll tell you, to be able to post a picture, and I just posted a picture from the first time. It wasn't, it was, you know, like when you look at some pictures, right? Some pictures you might do in black and white, you might do with good lighting. You know, you might do, you know, because it looks good at that time, you know, like, but, you know, you look at yourself like when you're like not in good lighting, you're like, okay, well, it doesn't look like that, right? You know, I think bodybuilding is like 70% muscle, 30% lighting, you know?
She just got the lights installed in the gym yesterday.
Right. They're still going. They're almost done, I think. I think it'll be done today. But what's interesting about that is I just posted a pic today, and it was no flexing, no pump, just me, right? You know, no filters, nothing, no granular things I did with the photo.
No fake tan.
No fake tan. Literally no fake tan. I'm as white as it could possibly be. It's like a blinding the sun, right? You know, but it was a natural picture of me, and I was proud of that picture because that was me, and that's a year and a half of busting my ass to get to that point there. And is it perfect? No. Is it where I want to be? No. But it's pretty damn good. And you know, I'm really liking the progress that I'm making right now and where I'm at. And again, you know, testament to you and your friggin' dark magic. I don't know how the hell you do it, but you know, it's you know, I'll tell you, having a trainer for me is probably the single best thing that I've ever decided to do in my life, aside from marrying my wife, aside from having my kids, and aside from starting my business. Okay, so you're up there.
That's pretty good. Like,
that's pretty good, right?
Yeah. Huh? I'll take that. Like, that's a pretty good compliment. Like, I think, well, what I want to ask you is, do you ever take it? I guess you do because you've all what you just said. But do you ever take a minute to sort of step back and be proud of yourself for the work that you put in and what you've achieved?
I do. You know, and whether that's me walking around the house without my shirt on, you know, I would never do that a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, going back to my history, or whether that's, you know, waking up in the morning early and having energy to go and work out. You know, I think the progress is what drives me. I was actually talking to my wife today, and we had gone to Orange Theory together today. It was a real tough one. And I started off kind of like in a meh mood, but I was still ready to go, you know, but I wasn't in like I'm going to kill myself and destroy myself type of mode, because Monday I killed myself and destroyed myself. It was honestly horrible. I had to take a nap. But I started running, and there was nobody there from a competition perspective that I was worried about. The one guy that's there that I was kind of getting competition-wise, but she's not even close to me, no offense. You know, like, I don't mean, and then where he's doing his own thing, he's doing awesome. But, you know, like, I always kill him, like, by, like, a whole, like, half a mile or a mile. So it's like, but I always, like, put him in my mind as he's my competition just so I can, like, push myself. He wasn't even there today. And I started running, and I'm like, you know, so it's an endurance day, and normally I average around 3 miles to 3.1 miles. I'm going to try to beat that. And I just kind of made myself my own competition because I know I can do it. And at the end of the day, I did 3.4 miles, which is the highest I've ever run in that short block that we have for 20 minutes. So I did 3.4 miles in about 20 minutes, which is awesome, right? I was dead, but I put myself in my own challenge. So, you know, putting my body through the work and seeing the progress and making sure that I continuously have progress and driving myself is great. And I always recognize where I'm at now. It's such a confidence booster, you know, walking into a room, or when I'm, you know, I coach my 6th grade kids basketball team, having the energy to be able to go and do that and play basketball with the boys, you know, all that stuff is great. Last story I'll tell you before we get into the actual topic here, is I had poker night on Saturday, which I equated for all the seltzers that I had in my Fitness Pal, and the 2 shots of habanero mango whiskey, which was brutal. But I ended up taking $100, which is awesome. I won the most amount of pot, and I donated $100 to a homeless dog shelter charity. But one of the guys I hadn't seen because of COVID, he hadn't been there because of the whole COVID situation. It was the first time I saw him in a year and a half. And he's like, "Oh my effing gosh, dude. Like, what the hell happened to you? You look jacked." And I'm like, yeah, I do. You know, like, that's cool. You know, like, thank you.
That is exact. That moment in itself it's worth every hour,
yes,
every weight lifted, every calorie counted, everything that you do. That exact moment, you just go, yep.
Yeah, I've been putting the work. I saw a funny meme. It was hilarious. I think it was in the dad bod transformation thing on Facebook. Emil runs it. And dad bod Facebook transformation is a great thing for people, by the way. If you're on Facebook, just look up dad bod transformation. Yeah, it's a great group of just people sharing their experiences. But it had a meme, and it was like a guy that had this awesome physique and body, and it was him lifting, and it was in his mind it like bubbles up, and it's it has a picture of like all these women that are just staring at him with like like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy lifts all the time, he looks amazing. And then you have like, and then the next thing pans over to in reality, and it's like 8 guys saying, dude, I love your biceps, you look great. It's like it's like
it's true. It's true. And I think another point to note is, and it's something, I don't know whether it's just a cultural thing for over here, but I often find that if someone gives a compliment, we tend not to be able to take it. Do you know what I mean? We'll play it down in some sort of way or whatever. And it's good to actually just be able to take the compliment and accept it, rather than being like, oh no, just like, I'm always the one, if someone says to me, oh, you're looking bigger, I'm just like, oh, I've just got a smaller t-shirt on. Do you know what I mean? Like playing it down in some way, shape or form. But to be able to accept the compliment again is another sort of a credit to what you're doing.
Well, let me tell you, like shirt sizes, I'd always wear baggier shirt sizes to kind of hide my physique, right? And I notice now that I'm wearing larges and I'm comfortable in larges because it shows my muscles off and my body type, and all that stuff, again, confidence in what you're doing, putting the work in. It's so much fun. I love it. And I think it is an addiction to some sense, right? An addiction to make yourself better, right? And I think that's the drive. If you look at like Jocko's mentality, right? Jocko just exudes, I'm a badass. But, Jocko probably wasn't a badass when he was in first grade. You develop that mentality, obviously being a Navy SEAL and being just a badass, obviously makes you that way. But it's a mindset, right? To go into the Navy SEALs, you got to be a badass, right? Mind-wise. Doesn't mean your body has to be there, but mind-wise, you have to be a badass. And so I think, having an addiction to a mindset of, I want to better myself and I want to be a badass, helps with everything that you do in life. And we talked about this a lot in the Mindset podcast episode that we went through. But mindset has, I think, everything to do with it. And if your mindset is, I'm going to fail at this, I feel like shit, I don't feel like working out, I'm not going to give myself the sleep, you control all of these aspects of your life in your mind. Your mind is it. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but having a mindset in place to push you forward will make you insurmountably more successful than not.
Yeah, there's actually, so you've led me on to 2 points that I wanted to make, and I think you've just led me into it perfectly. I was leaving Harper off to childcare this morning, and this is definitely a mindset thing. I was coming out, and one of the other dads was coming out, and he's like, oh, how's it going? I'm like, yeah, really, really good, everything's good. What about yourself? And he's like, oh, struggling on. And I'm like, there's 2 types of people there. There's people who, like, everything is good. I don't know whether it's because I'm telling myself everything's good, but I genuinely believe everything's good and I feel good. Whereas he's like, oh, struggling, and it's that negative sort of mindset. He's telling himself that he's struggling every single day, so he's going to struggle. And I mean, 100%. I think how you, I don't want to say talk to yourself, but yeah, how do you talk to yourself is massively important. And whether you need to sort of positively reinforce yourself or whatever, I think that's something that's definitely overlooked. And it was just such a passing thing. He probably didn't even think anything of it, but I was like in my head going, he needs to change how he's fucking talking to himself. Like, of course he's going to be struggling.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's probably what led me to you in the first place, Ben, is the similarity in mindsets, right? Which is, positivity, lead through example, live your life a day by day in a positive manner. Yes, you're going to have shit days, but the shit days don't make you, right? You make your positive days more than not. And the more positivity you have towards life, the better you're going to be success-wise in business, in your life, in your marriage, and everything that you do with your kids. If you're just continuously telling yourself my entire life is shit, and I'm not saying your life is not shit, okay? People struggle with a whole bunch of stuff in life. There's no question about it. You have deaths, you have job losses, you lose a spouse. I mean, there's a lot of things in this life that are not fair and hit us all, and there's inequality, and there's a lot of shit that happens in this world. But your perception of life and the long-term vision of life needs to be a positive one in order for you to be successful, right? And I think that's the thing that we lose. Is prime example of what you said right there is, if you're like, oh, I'm struggling on my day's shit, my next day's gonna be shit, I hate waking up, I hate going to work, I hate doing this, I hate doing that. Your whole perception of life is going to be, I hate life. And I've always been a person of positivity. Even when I've gone through some horrible shit in my life, I bounce back and I'm just like, hey, this is a horrible week or a horrible day. I need to get over it, and I need to look at the positives that I have. I'm blessed with an amazing family, with an amazing life. I'm successful business-wise. I have some amazing friends. In the grand scheme of things, this thing is shit. Like, I remember there was a couple of weeks ago where I just had a really shit day with some customers that were just not nice people. Like, most of the 99% of our customers are amazing individuals. But then you just get like dickheads, right? You know, they're total dickheads. Like they treat you like crap. They treat your employees like crap. And, you know, I just had one of those days where I was just dealing with a dickhead all day long. And it was, you know, and your perception is that dickhead made you a dickhead, you know, because, you know, they're literally being a dick to you. They're being a dick to your employees, and you now got to get defensive and back your employees up, and you got to figure out what's going on. And you obviously trying to smooth it over and make it a better thing. But your perception of that day is, man, this day sucks. And it's easy to say, well, my next day is going to suck and my outlook is going to suck because this day sucks. No, it doesn't. That's just a small, tiny micro fraction in the grand scheme of things of an amazing life that you already have, right? And we have to be able to pull ourselves out of that. And we have a shit workout day. You know, let's just say we have a shit workout day. Yeah, it was a shit workout day. Tomorrow I'm gonna go kill it, right? We have to look at that long-term perspective of life. And I think that's really important to have that mindset.
Yeah, I think the dickhead ripple effect is definitely one that is hard to overcome. Like, people can fuck your day up. But what I always try to think is, I was like, maybe someone's been a dickhead to that person, and I'm just getting back, you know, off the back of that. So I get that too. Second point I want to make is about mindset, and this is something that I've always thought in terms of training, and you'll have heard me say it a million times. The correlation between a strong body and a strong mind. And I got a message, I tweeted it there just before we come on, from one of the BC fam members. They had went to see the therapist. They suffer from ADHD, and they hadn't seen the therapist in, I think she said, over a year. And she was talking about the things that we were doing, the things that we were monitoring, the things that we put into her check-in sheet to sort of stay in check with herself. And she was like, whatever you're doing here is what I've been trying to do for X amount of years and keep doing. And it was that sort of, it's the things like that that make what I do worthwhile, that go beyond the physical transformation and whatever else. But I'll always put it back to her. It's the credit for her. She's put the work in. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, making suggestions, try this, blah, 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 blah. But
that's awesome.
It just sort of leads back to how much, number one, you can be in control if you take control of the situation, but how much both of those things affect each other, both body and mind. And I still don't know which one comes first. I just think they go hand in hand. So if you work on one, the other one will improve, and just continue to improve.
Well, one thing I'll say about what I've noticed in the BC fam and the We Hacking Health and all our stuff is that, you know, your business is growing exponentially, which is awesome. And that's a testament to what you're doing, right? You know, you're sitting there and you're personalizing the struggles of people to them. Everybody's different. And that's got to be hard as hell to navigate, because you really have to dive down into what their problems and what their issues are. Is it time management? Is it motivation? Is it their outlook in life? You know, what can we do to home in on those key problematic areas and start to change them over time? And that long-term view is something that I didn't have. I probably still don't have fully. That's why I rely heavily off of you for, to really put things into perspective, that this is a journey, right? And we have to change these habits over time to get to where we want to be and to be happy in life and happy with ourselves and happy with our body. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, first of all, congratulations, happy birthday. Last week was your birthday, so happy birthday.
Thank you.
And then second, I'm such a horrible friend, by the way. I totally missed your actual birthday, and I said it a day late. I'm so pissed at myself for that. I'm going to make it up with sending you a whole bunch of liquor, don't worry. But the thing is, you know, like, it's a testament to you and how you approach things, of being able to home in on an individual person. Like, I feel like the Jeff Nippert program is a great example. Like, Jeff Nippert is amazing. Like, he's an incredible bodybuilder. He shares his knowledge and his wealth, and he can go on his site for $40 and buy, you know, a training program. That training program isn't going to fix your issues. It's not going to fix your mindset. It's not going to fix your nutrition. It's not going to fix your macro counts. It's not going to have, you know, somebody you can bounce off of when you're having a shit day. You know, and I think that's something to say that's a testament to you. What you built is that you're looking at everybody's problems uniquely to them, because everybody's completely different. And then you're focusing on what their goals are in order to build it out. That's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's just, for me, I don't know whether it comes from always having worked with people, and I always call it my people encyclopedia. Like, I've always been around people. Like, I grew up, my mom worked in a restaurant. There's always people. And like, I'm a sort of person who will just sit back and absorb what's going on. Like, I'm not really the person who will be in the middle of it, like being the fucking star of the show. I just like sort of try and observe people and what way they are. So I don't know whether it's just a time thing of like different types of people and whatever else. But the thing about that is, people will come to me with a specific issue, but it's trying to work out what the actual issue is. Do you know what I mean? It's what they want versus what they need to begin with, and sort of trying to differentiate the two. And that's the most difficult bit number one, to differentiate it, but number two, to get it across to the person, because they're like, oh no, but I just need a fucking meal plan. And you're like, geez, like, the meal plan is the last thing that you fucking need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, seeing the success of Chris and Nagy is a great example of that. You know, like when Chris first started, you know, he said, oh, hey, I can give you 2 30-minute days a week, right? And now he's working out all the time. Granted, he's been quiet lately. What the hell's going on with him? I think he's been busy.
He was on vacation last week, and then he's in class this week. He has apologized a couple of times to me for being MIA. And I'm like, bitch. You know what? Whatever. You
know what? Even when I was on vacation, I was still like, hey, I'm getting my steps in, or hey, I went to the gym and did this. You know,
just
no
doesn't
excuse,
like
Chris.
Discord. He doesn't like Discord. That's his issue. He doesn't want to be in that chat. He's just staying in the Facebook chat.
He'll convert over, whatever. But you know, it's crazy to see his transformation, because you know his in his mind, his issue was time management, right? And that's something that he's been able to allocate more and more time to, which is himself, and which is putting the work in. And now he's at a position where he's working out, not as much as me, because I'm definitely still beating him on that, but he's still doing great for himself, and he's up there, right? I mean, he's working out, training 5 days a week?
Maybe he's being quiet because he's like at a training camp, and he's just training all day every day, and he's just going to come back in 2 weeks.
He's like Batman, where he like went to like some like crazy place in like Africa, you know, where he's like training with like some ninjas.
Yeah. He's just going to pop up at the end of the year and be like, oh, sorry, I'm missing, but here I'm absolutely shredded.
I'd be so pissed if that was your guys' plan. I'd be like, all right, this is it, I'm done. All right, so that was a good topic. Now we should switch over to, I think, the main,
actual topic of the podcast.
Of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. Right. So what we want to talk about is, I mean, the way I would probably summarize it is, number one, understanding what your goal is and training for that goal. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I think the first thing we need to sort of separate is different types of training. So in my eyes, there's two probably main types. Obviously, there's a lot, but, you know, from the people who are listening and the people that I know that I work with and whatever else, there would be the weight and resistance training side and then the cardio side. Weight and resistance training can be sort of categorized separately to like strength-based and then more hypertrophy-based. The cardio side can be less, which is like low-intensity stuff, and then high-intensity stuff. That's as simple as I can make it, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, you need to figure out what your goals and objectives are for what you want to accomplish. Like if you think that, you know, hey, I just want to be lean and I don't want a large muscle profile or even a little bit of muscle profile, then cardio is probably the right way to go for that, right? You know, you can literally do cardio, and if you get your eating down right, you know, your total daily energy expenditure and how many calories you're eating per day, and be able to, you know, put yourself in a deficit. Right now, I'm at 3,200 calories a day, which is a deficit, which, you know, my total daily energy expenditure is probably around 3,500. So I'm in a 200-300 calorie per day deficit, which you expand that over time, you know, can, you know, be several thousands of calories that I'm in a deficit for per week. And so, you know, it's just a math game at the end of the day where, you know, hey, if I'm doing cardio and I burn 700 calories extra and I don't eat those 700 calories, you know, I'll be in a deficit and I can use it over time to sustain weight loss, right? And so cardio, though, the reason why people say you need to do cardio to lose weight is because you're increasing your deficit because you're burning more calories, right? So you're out there running, you're putting the work in. But the problem that most people face is that they think that because I do cardio, you know, your body is like, well, shit, you just ate, you know, you just killed 700 calories. I need to replenish those 700 calories. So I need to eat those 700 calories, and then I need to eat the same amount of food that I ate before. So you're not losing weight, or you're not getting your desired weight. On average, you should be wanting to expect to lose around 1 to 2 pounds per week on average is about the normal spot. You can, if you're severely overweight, you know, 3 to 4 pounds a week is fine as well. Even up to 5 pounds, you know, is kind of crazy, but you can still do it. But, you know, the thing to take into consideration is that just because you're doing cardio does not equal weight loss. It's literally a thermogenics issue. It's calories in versus calories out at the simplest form. Now, there's nuances to it, but anybody that tells you different or says, hey, you know, if you just do keto, you're going to lose this weight. If you do this, you know, slushy diet, you're going to lose. At the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out. It's the amount of calories that you eat and the amount of calories that your body burns. That's literally as easy as possible as it can be. Now, there are things that are more specific that we've talked about these in previous podcasts. We're not going to get into macronutrient breakdowns of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. You know, obviously more protein centric is going to be more conducive to protein synthesis and allow you to increase muscle mass. Carbohydrates are going to be your energy. Fat is kind of the glue or the oil for your whole engine of your body to work. So there are a lot of things that make your body work a certain way. But at the end of the day, calories in versus calories out. So if you do no cardio at all, none, zero, you don't even get your steps in, but you're in a 200 calorie, per day deficit, you will lose weight. So you do not have to do cardio to lose weight. You don't need to go and buy a treadmill and kill yourself and then eat 10,000 calories to gain weight. Okay. So, it's a simple thermogenics thing. Now, if you want to have more cardiovascular health, you want to be more fit, cardio is fantastic. I love cardio. Ben hates cardio. I love cardio. I love running. I love the endurance aspect of things. I love going and beating the person next to me. I love the running pieces of it. So I do Orange Theory, 3 times a week, which is what we call high intensity interval training. But I only do 3 times a week. That's it. I do not want to impact my gains on the muscle side. If you do too much cardio, it will absolutely eat into your muscles and you'll start to lose muscle mass as part of it, or you won't grow as much muscle mass as you potentially could. So I try to limit as much cardio as I do to ensure that my strength and resistance training doesn't take a hit.
Yeah, I think it was, I have to credit James this on our very initial call whenever he basically put it back to me that the cardio is burning the fuel. So basically you're literally just burning calories. So food is fuel, cardio will just burn through that fuel. Weight and resistance training allows you to build a more efficient engine that will allow you to eat more calories, which will allow you to have more fuel, which will allow you to train at a higher intensity or a higher capacity. And I don't think it has to be or it should be one or the other. And even talking like when we get into strength and hypertrophy and rep ranges, I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think having a good combination of them all works well. I think where people see frustration in cardio, they do fucking endless amounts of cardio and they're like, I'm just, I'm not happy with how I look. And you're like, yeah, okay, right, okay, so maybe you lost weight. If you've come from massively overweight and you've done all this cardio and you've come down, you've lost loads of weight and whatever else, you're going to be a skinnier version of what you were, and you're not that sort of athletic physique that, like we're talking about carrying muscle mass. You need to spend time in different periods doing different things to actually achieve that. And I think that's where I see a lot of frustration for people on initial calls. They're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I'm like, you're ticking the boxes, you're putting the work in, you're just ticking the wrong fucking boxes, basically.
Right. I would say that resistance training is by far the number one most important aspect that you should focus on if you're looking to get a physical physique. It doesn't need to be you're getting huge or jacked AF. It can mean, hey, I have a physical physique where my muscles are toned, I have a 6-pack, or even if I don't have a 6-pack, I just look lean, I look muscular. You need to do resistance training. If you just do cardio, yeah, you might be skinny fat, but you're not going to have that lean, typical, body type that you would see from folks that are at least putting in some weight training or resistance training that goes along with it. So to me, and here's the thing, when you're severely overweight and you want to shave the weight, the best way to do that is resistance training. Resistance training will start to build muscle. You'll start to burn more calories. And as you start to shed that weight off, you're going to start to see the muscles because you're building the muscles as you go along, right? There's a number of folks that I know, like Danny, for example, is doing a lot of resistance training, and he's shedding the weight down as he's going along with it. And you know what? At the end of the day, he's going to look jacked as hell because he's focusing on muscle training and resistance versus the cardio aspects of trying to drop that weight. And I think people get it flipped. The person I was talking to yesterday about going on getting a treadmill, to lose weight. I'm like, dude, seriously, like take a step back and get some dumbbells and some, and a bench and focus on building muscle so that you can maintain and look better and have that physical physique that you want to versus, dropping the pounds or weight. And I think that's where most people get confused on is that, hey, if I drop the weight, I'm going to look great. And that doesn't work that way. You're still going to be the skinny fat, that we typically see in people. And again, I'm not judging anybody. It's just the body type composition that you typically see with folks. And so, for me, if you want long-term sustainability, if you're going out there and you're killing yourself in cardio all the time and you're just destroying yourself, is that sustainable long-term? With the perceived notion that you're going to have a physical body type someday, but you're probably not going to because you're not incorporating resistance training. So, to me, getting your food down right and obviously your calories ins and outs, resistance training and some cardio on top of that or not is the best approach to getting that physical physique, which is most important.
Yeah, I actually have an example of this, the call that I had this week. And the guy, I could just tell he had so much frustration. And, you know, you're talking about getting down to the weight, and this is a prime example of why I don't give a shit about weight. But anyway, so he started off to, I think he said 270 or thereabouts, and he got down to like, I think he said 165 or something like that. And he thought when he gets to this weight, he will be happy. And he said that he got there and he was just like, I'm not happy with how I look. Like, he thought that being that weight would be happy. He did cardio to get to there. You know, he did HIIT classes and whatever else. He put the fucking work in. Like, I had a really good conversation with him. And the issue that he faced was he just put the wrong type of work in. So it's not getting to that weight. And he says that he actually got to the point where he's just like, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore. Like, it's not, you know, he's not happy with where he was. And he just started going backwards because it's like, I thought that putting this work in to get me to this place weight wise would make me happy, and I was like, it just wasn't, you know, just wasn't happy with how I looked or how I felt, and it was just a case of doing the wrong type of training. And I think that this leads us on to exactly what this conversation should be.
Yeah, you know, you look at you can obviously, let's just say you're 275 and you shave yourself down to 165 is way low to me,
which is incredible, like an incredible achievement. Like, you don't take that away.
Pounds is monumental, right? I mean, that is amazing. But are you going to be happy there? You know, I remember when I lost on my weight, when I had my surgery for the gastric sleeve, you know, I went from 315 pounds to 175 pounds, which I'm 6'4". My wife was complaining I'm too bony. I look like a skeleton. I hated how I looked.
I was in the airport on Sunday, and there was like going through the duty free, and there was like a moisturizing thing, and there was a skeleton there, like in a lab coat, and I was like, I feel like this is what Dave looked like whenever he talks about whatever.
I'll send you some pictures. I mean, I looked like I was dying. You know, like I look like, and you know, I'm already white as possible. And, you know, that's why they got the mood lights in here, so you can't see how like just pale white my body is. So I look like a skeleton. You know, and I wasn't happy with my physique. Then I felt better about myself because I wasn't 315 pounds, but I didn't feel great about myself. I wouldn't take my shirt off. There's no way. And, you know, I'll tell you again, first time in my life over this past 6 months that I walk in with confidence. I walk in with, you know, the ability to know that I'm putting the work in and I feel good. My body looks good. I go to the beach. I take my shirt off. I feel good about that. Granted, again, I could use a little bit more of a tan, you know, but, you know, all of these things completely change with me based on my body comp type and how I want it to progress. And that's only going to go up from here. And I think going back to my biggest fear, right, which we already talked about and how you kind of overcome that, is that when we're doing resistance training, so we've talked about, hey, cardio isn't the right way. I'm not saying don't do cardio. If you can incorporate some cardio, that's fantastic cardiovascular-wise. It's not going to make you lose weight, though. Focus on your eating, focus on resistance training, and then the rest will come along. Just get, you know, 10,000 steps, 12,000 steps. I was watching, there's a bodybuilder from Animal, which I'm actually wearing their shirt right now.
Go.
Oh yeah, so I got mine yesterday. I'm so excited. I have to wash shirts first, so I won't wear shirts that.
Well, I don't understand why you don't have the flag up either. Like, I keep seeing pictures of the gym.
I have the flag in the gym. I just have to hang it because they've been doing the lights and stuff. It's been long. I'll get it up there. I can't wait to see the flag up there. But you know, this guy is just ridiculously huge. I mean, the guy's just a beast. I mean, his muscles are like out to here. You know, he's a bodybuilder, right? And you know, he talks about the cardio that he does. And it's literally him walking on a treadmill for 5 minutes, and then he just does his weight training, and then he eats the rest of the day. That's it. That is it. Like, if you want that body type, there's no cardio at all in there, right? Now, I don't want that body type. I don't want to be that big. That's pretty impressive, but I don't want to be like, man, I can't fit my arm through the door, you know, type of guy.
But there's a point to note in this, like, so obviously we're talking about the cardio burns the fuel, so cardio burns calories, and weight and resistance training builds the engine. So obviously that guy's got a big fucking engine. Do you know what I mean? He's probably 300 pounds or whatever. So 5 minutes walking on a treadmill, he probably burns a shitload of calories. Do you know what I mean? It's probably like me running for half an hour. Do you know what I mean? Because there just physically is more of them, and that sort of leads back to the point of weight and resistance training and building muscle will allow you to have to do less cardio down the line. And I think another point to put in there is, you know, the cardio to get you to lose X amount of pounds and whatever else, you have to put hours and hours and hours in. That's not something you can do forever. If you even were to cut that in half, do half the amount of cardio and half the amount of weight and resistance training, you will build up muscle and you will build, you know, strength that down the line you don't have to do as much cardio because you're physically burning more calories in the cardio that you already do. Does that make sense?
100%. And so think about it, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn, the bigger engine that you have, right? So the more resistance training you do, the more you build muscle, the more protein synthesis occurs, the more that your muscles actually grow, the more calories you're burning. Your body basically equates to that because it's literally the science of our body. There's no this isn't like the 1800s where you injected cocaine to get you your pre-workout. I mean we know the science behind our bodies and how this stuff works. There's no I understand there are some benefits of keto, especially if you're like that, diabetic and stuff like that. But like these diets fuck us up so bad because it's like they're going away from how our bodies work from a science perspective and trying to spin something in a way that hopefully gets somebody to lose, 20, 30 pounds and buys a whole bunch of raspberry ketones. And all of a sudden now, you gain that 50 pounds back and you're like, well, what the hell did I just do all that for? Right. We have to look at this from a science-based approach and say, what's the best, most efficient way that we can go and do this? And so that gets me into the resistance training side of the house, which is my biggest fear is not growing, right? I want to grow in size. So how do I do that? Well, there'll be times in the gym where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm growing. I don't feel like I'm getting stronger. What does this mean? So I started taking more of a data-based approach to my programs and understanding how much volume I'm doing. Now, I was listening to Jay Cutler recently, who's a famous bodybuilder. He's one of my favorites. I just love hearing him talk and, kind of going through his program. We should get him on the podcast if we can. Just a really nice guy. I buy all the supplements too. The intro workout and the pre-workout stuff that I use with him is great. We talk about how do you grow your muscles, and the way that your muscles work is, when you lift something up, that doesn't directly equate to you're going to grow muscle. So if I lift this up here, I'm burning calories, but it doesn't mean my muscles are creating mTOR in order to start to build the protein synthesis model where I'm starting to build muscles. I totally heard that, by the way. So we have to stimulate our muscles in a way that says, hey, we don't have enough muscle capacity to lift what our current work day load is. We need to increase our muscles so that we can get to this point. And this is what we call progressive overload. Progressive overload is probably one of the most fundamental things that you need to understand in resistance training, because if you're not going to progressive overload, you're not training yourself hard enough, and you're not going to grow as much muscle as you potentially could, or not at all. And so when we start looking at progressive overload, it's really how do we increase the temperature in our muscles to where our muscles are fatigued, and we can no longer lift any weights, and it causes our muscles to be stimulated in order to grow more muscle. And that's really what we have to be focusing on is total volume. And that can be from lifting heavy. You obviously hear power builders, lifting super heavy weights, lower reps. So, if you do 505 pounds, which I did,
Really? You hadn't mentioned it in a couple of weeks?
But, I did a 1 rep max of 505. Well, that's a lot of volume, right? That's a lot of weight. If I do 400 at, 5, for example, that's a lot of weight that I'm pushing through my muscles that get them fatigued much quicker than if I did 200 by 12. So, we have to look at this and say, well, how do we fatigue our muscles in a way that causes our muscles to want to grow? And that's through progressive overload. Now I started taking more of a data-based approach to all of this, which is I track how much I lift per muscle exercise per week, and I try to increase that every single week so that I am continuously going there. Now, Ben actually recommended a book recently to me, which I really found kind of mind-blowing. There's a graph in there that put it into perspective for me. You don't have to use an Excel spreadsheet like I do. There's a couple of ways that you can do this that is just based on feel. And Jay Cutler is one of those guys that does it based on feel. He's like, I've never tracked my weights that I do. I don't, pay attention to how much weight I'm throwing around. He's like, I just try to do this. And you know what? Jay said all of my workouts are typically 15 plus rep ranges. Everybody's like, oh, you have to do 6 to 12. Jay Cutler is a great example of you don't have to do 6 to 12 to be a bodybuilder. So higher rep ranges, more volume equates to your muscle fatigue. More fatigue equates to muscle growth. So whether that's in the 3 to 5 range, whether that's in the 6 to 12 range, whether that's in the 12 to 20 range or 12 to 30 range, it doesn't matter as long as you're fatiguing your muscles. And there's a lot of science behind this. Jeff Nippert just said, Jeff Nippert broke down the most recent scientific studies on this around which has more for muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth. Is it the 3 to 5 range? Is it the 6 to 12 range? Is it the 12? All of them are the same, just based on volume. And so the book that
just to interrupt you there, I did obviously a bit of research earlier on, and I was trying to find, is there anything that is best, better than other, whatever else, and anything that I could find. Basically, they said anything from 1 rep to 30 reps. If you're progressing in it, you will build muscle. It's not that one is better than the other, but what they did say is it was coaches, can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but basically what they did say is where people fall down is by reading a study that says 8 to 12 is the way to go, and then for the rest of their life they do 8 to 12. They found the most benefits of alternating between the two, and you'll know this from plans that we have done that I use them all. So I will use 6 to 8, I will use 8 to 12, I will use 10 to 15, I'll use 15 to 20. Like, I will use them all because they all work.
Yep.
It's just a case of not sticking to one. And if we were, and I actually thought about you whenever I was watching the YouTube channel, because obviously you've gone from the power building program that's like 500 sets of 2 reps or whatever the fuck it was to now doing 3 or 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. So because that's a new stimulus on your body should react like that.
Because crazy. Like the amount of strength and increase that I got from 1 week to the next is crazy. It was immediate and noticeable, right? And the book that you recommended is called The Principles of Muscle Building Program Design by Nick Mitchell and Jonathan Taylor. And there was a graph in there that really resonated with me around progressive overload. And what we talk about progressive overload is basically it's a failure. Okay, your muscles are failing to where you can't. If you're doing a bicep curl and you're coming up and you just can't get it up and you're just shaking, you can't get it up. That's what we call failure. Now, you don't have to do that directly to failure every single time, but to get to like a 1 to 2 RPE type of thing. An RPE is the rate of perceived exertion. So if you're at a 1 RPE, it means that, hey, I can do 1 more bicep curl and then I'm done. To get around that type of volume to where your muscles are fatigued to where you can only do maybe 1 or 2 more, that's what we're talking about on the progressive overload side. Increasing weights to get to the point to where your muscles can no longer lift that weight anymore. And that's setting the instructions to say, I need to build muscle. And so what I look at, and that there was a graph in that book, The Principles of Muscle Building, which said, hey, shoot for just as an example, 12 reps, okay? And if you did 12 reps and it was easy, increase the weight by 10%. If you get to 8 reps, decrease the weight by 5 to 10%. Try to get to the point to where you're always balancing between 8 and 12, but it's hard for you, right? And so that little balancing there, or 6 to 8, whatever it ends up being, I always try to get to 12, but it's that when I get to that 12, I can barely lift that 12 up. I mean, I'm shaking to get up to that 12, and I'm hurting to get up to that 12, right? And then I drop it, and I got that 12. But that might not happen every time. I'll make it to 8, and I'm done. I'm fatigued. That's great. You want your muscle fatigue to be there, and that's how you should be looking at every single body part that you go after, whether it's your calves, whether it's your biceps and triceps, whether it's your chest. When I'm doing bench press, I'll get to the point to where I have a what's called a kabuki cambered bar. It's a neutral grip bench. It's cambered. It tailors in, and I'll get to the point to where I'm like oh shit, oh god, okay, I got it, okay. And you're like that's where you want to be at from a muscle fatigue perspective in order to maximize your growth and muscle hypertrophy.
Yeah, the most simple way that I can put progressive overload across without trying to really get into it is, if you look at your rep ranges, say, for example, we talk about 8 to 12. Now, the caveat to this is whenever I start a new program, I always find that it takes me 2 or 3 weeks to sort of find my working weight. It's not like I'm going to go in and go, okay, right, I'm going to do 100 kilos here. No problem. It takes me a while to find it. But progressive overload to me means that you're increasing at least 1 rep or at least some weight. And the way to do it is, say, for example, you're looking at 12, say this week you get 10 reps, then next week you need to get 11 or 12 reps. Once you hit that 12 reps, which is the upper rep range, then you increase the weight, which naturally is going to lower the amount of reps that you do. So you'll maybe come down to 8 again. Yep. Then you just rinse and repeat. So you go 8 reps and you go, okay, right, and you get 9, 10, 11 or 12. Build it up again, hit the 12, and then simplest form, just increase the weight and down the reps again. And that is the simplest way that you can look at it.
That's a great way of putting it in perspective. That's actually that'll help me out a little bit in how I'm looking at this. So, what I've been doing is just basically increasing like YOLO, 10 pounds, and then, well, and it's also difficult because I came from powerlifting, which my 12 rep is very different than my 5 rep range. So I'm trying to find like that exact spot of where my muscles are at from a fatigue perspective. And you also have to take in consideration, which is just so much stuff going on, is that, like you just did a whole new training program. So you did a week of your training program. So you're not going to be fully recovered the following week too. So, your weights are going to be different 1 week to the next. So, and I'm adding new things and I'm, kind of playing around with things. So it's like, it's not perfect, but what you want to shoot for is, hey, as Ben had said, always maximizing muscle fatigue is the best way of putting it, right? And I like that approach. That'll help me out a lot when I look from previous week to next and saying, well, I got 12 this week. Let's increase it 10 pounds and, see how I do. And if I get to 8, cool. Next week, I'm going to do the same thing, see if I can get to 12. And how many can I bang out? If I get to 12, then I'll increase another 10 pounds or whatever it ends up being, right? It's this incremental approach of getting stronger to really help out what you're doing. But progressive overload for hypertrophy is the way to build muscle. If you're not putting in that type of work at the gym, you're going to sit there and stay the same or grow very, very slowly.
I think the note about this is having a record of it. Like, I live and die by my logbook, so I'll go to the gym and I'll open up, I'll write what I did the week before, I'll write it out, and I spend like 10 minutes writing it out, and I'm like, right, okay. Say hack squat, I'm like, fuck, right, okay, I got 6 reps last week, I need to get 7 reps. So in your head, you know exactly what you need to get going in. It's not just a case of jump on the machine, stick some weights on and just fucking go for it. It's like, right, what do I need to get here to progress? And knowing that, it's like, I need to get this no matter what happens.
I've always recorded mine in an actual physical piece of paper that I like doing, but with this new spreadsheet that I've been building, I've been doing it directly on there, which it's taken me some time to get used to, but I really do like having an electronic version of it. That's obviously not going to work if I'm going to the gym, somewhere else, but I don't ever go to the gym anyway, other than my house. So it works out just fine for me. But even if you just record it and put it into your, Excel spreadsheet later on, I think, has that big benefit of what you do. And I was kind of falling into that cycle where, I would do a hack squat and I would just do the same weight that I did last time and just, keep going as I go along. Now I'm really focusing on, hey, I need to do this to fatigue, right? I need to do this to where, my shit's breaking down and my muscles are like, I can't take this anymore. And that's when you have the most amount of success.
Yeah, that's it. Nailed it.
Awesome. Dude, I thought this was a really good podcast.
That was a really good one.
Yeah. Time flew by.
Yeah. We should do more. We should do more.
I should do more. Do you do 5 a week?
Every day. Actually, one thing I do want to say is, and I'll just put it out here while everybody's listening to the podcast, we need to get on Twitter Spaces because I think that'd be real cool to actually have a conversation, because obviously it's great you and I talking, but all these people that we talk about on a regular basis, having them in the one place so we can set that up.
Agreed. Let's do it.
Cool. Catch you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.
Bye.